Yep. Okay, hello. Oh no, Shauna, that's awful. No problem, Sim, I've had problems, so you didn't miss anything. Okay, I'm back on that first app that likes to throw me out all the time and pixelates my screen, but I couldn't get back on the app that seems to like me better, so it's all YouTube that throws me. Hi, Cheryl. Okay, well, let's go ahead and see what kind of stuff we can create here. So the piece that I'm missing is that little clip that clips your phone onto here, that holds your phone. That's what's missing. So that's why I had to tape my phone onto my clip-on tripod. It's not really a tripod because it doesn't have 3 feet, but you know what I mean. Whoops. Okay, so I'm going to use a cutter. If you don't have a cutter, you can use a ruler and scissors. You can use whatever you need to do to cut a 2.5 by 3.5. So ATC, Artist Trading Cards, you'll hear people refer to it as an ATC. It's just the acronym for it. It's the same size as the pocket letters because people store them in the same pocket letter baseball card sheets. Okay, one of these. Hi, Ronnie. So this is just a catalog that I thought would make a cute pocket letter at some point that I got out of, I believe it was the Wyoming Tourist Guide magazine or little catalog that you can get for free. And this was what the page looked like, and I cut it out and I thought that it would make a cute pocket letter at some point. So I just chopped it up and put it in here. So an ATC card is basically the same thing as one section of a pocket letter. So it needs to be cut 2.5 by 3.5 because when you trade artist trading cards with people, they store them in here. So that's the first rule, and probably the only rule to an artist trading card is it needs to be 2.5 by 3.5 so they can be stored in these little pockets. Okay, Hello, Kendra. How are you? So when I cut mine, and there's different ways that you can cut yours. There's different methods on how you can save the most paper and all of that. But the way that I do mine is I start out with my cardstock, and I usually always back mine with black. I don't know, I just like mine on black. That's just one of the things that I do with mine. Not always, but it's very rare that you'll get one of my ATCs that don't have black. And part of it is, and I know it probably sounds silly, but I like to write in white gel pens my name. I like to sign it and put the card and the date and all of that information on white. I don't know why, I just think it's cool. It's just one of my trademarks. It's what I do. So when I'm using my cutting tool, I put this in at the 2.5 mark, and I put it in vertically, and I just cut my papers. And I'll typically do a whole bunch of these at once, so that every time I sit down to make cards, I don't have to do this every time. You know, I'll just sit down and maybe do like 10 sheets of these at a time. And then I just then put the strip in this way, and I'm going to measure it at 3.5 this time. And then that's my card. That's the backing of my card. And this isn't really that thick of cardstock. This is the Recollections that you get at Michael's, you know, when it always goes on sale. I don't know what weight that is. It's not very heavy. And so since I use black most often, I will just cut, you know, out a bunch of these, and then I have a little container that I keep these in. And then when I am ready to make cards, I already have a bunch of these cut out. Okay, so I get 9 out of an 8.5 by 11, and this is the waste. This is the only waste that I have. Now obviously I don't throw this away. I have a container that sits up here on my shelf. This is it. And you can see how many that I've cut, because all of these are the strips, and I just put these in here. And then I have, you know, you can see all the black ones, and I'll use these at some point for something. And then these are my cards. Okay. Shauna, it really doesn't matter, because I'm going to add other papers on top of this. Now some people will use cereal boxes. They'll recycle different materials like that, food boxes from their kitchen. Of course those are going to be thicker than my cards. As long as they have some body to them and they're not real thin, but as long as you've given some weight to them, that's fine. Of course you wouldn't want to send this light of anything to somebody. That's, you know, a little too flimsy. But like if I was going to add this to this, you know, that's enough weight to them. So I think that it's kind of a personal preference to the artist, how thick you want it to be. I've gotten some that are really, really hardy. The main thing is you want it to be able to slide in this card or into this sleeve for storage purposes. You don't want anything to end up so thick that the person can't store it the way that they would typically store it into here. So as long as the end result will get into that sleeve, you're good. It's just kind of a good rule of thumb. I like this weight personally. But see, this is a 65-pound weight. And like I said, this is just the Recollections brand. And you can usually get this stuff on sale at Michael's. If you're out of the country, of course, or out of the United States, I'm sure, you know, you have good resources as well. I'm sorry that the program is pixelating every once in a while. I hope that that doesn't cause you too much problem. Okay, so now what are we going to do? I thought that maybe I would do... I'm going to just go through my jelly prints, but if you don't have jelly prints or painted paper or anything, just go ahead and grab some, maybe some designer paper, some scrapbook paper, something that you like. And we're going to then cut those down just under 2.5 by 3.5 if you want to have a little bit of a border so that you can see. I like to be able to see a little bit of the black behind, you know, to give it a little bit of a, what do I want to say, matte look behind it. And I don't want anything real dark because I think I'm going to stamp an image on top of it with black ink, so I don't want anything real dark because I want you to be able to see my image. So keep that in mind if you're going to do the same thing. If I think I'm going to stamp with black ink, so I don't want anything real dark because I want my black ink image to show through. So I'm just kind of looking through to see if it's something that you know you like. You can always add some more dimension or color to the image. I think I'm going to use these hearts. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going, and if you're using designer paper, probably don't have this issue, but I need to cut these white borders off of here that my jelly plate left me with, because I don't want those on my card. So I'm just going to try to cut most of the white space off. Okay, so I'm going to cut this down. I want to leave a little bit of the black border, so I'm not going to go all the way down to 2.5. I'm going to go, I want just maybe like 1/8 of an inch, so that would be I need to cut it down. If I'm cutting it down to 2.5 is my size, and I want about 1/8 of an inch on each side, I need to cut it down to 2 7/8, right? I use the lines. I suck at measuring, but I just use the lines, so I'm going to go down 1/4. And that's going to be the mark that I use. I failed at that part in school. Now, if you don't want a border, then you would just cut it at 2.5. And then the same on the 3.5, I'm going to just cut it 1/4 of an inch shorter. Or if you want it to be a thicker mat, then you would just, you know, cut it at 3. Oops, that one I cut 2. You'd cut it at 3.25. Or 3 if you wanted 1/2. This one I cut too big. No, I didn't. Now I'm confusing myself, so I can only imagine what I'm doing to your minds. That one I cut too short. Sometimes, you know, I just can't walk and chew gum. That's the problem. Okay, so that one's perfect, whatever I did to that one. 2 1/4. That will give me 1/8 of an inch. Right? Probably not. No, now I cut that one too small. Dang, Kim. Don't laugh at me, Ronnie. She knows I can't measure to save my life. There. When in doubt, just use the good paper. Uh-oh, I just lost my son. Okay. So there, I'll get 3 out of that. This one I cut too short. So when I make them, what I usually do is make a series. So meaning I'll make 3 that are like, 3 like cards. Usually I try to make 4 to 6 like cards, but in this case, I'm only going to get 3 like cards. Okay, you probably can't see the border because my background is black. How are we doing? Quality shot down to 35. That's why you're seeing pixelation on there. So see, I have a nice black 1/8 of an inch border all the way around my card. Okay. So how are you guys doing? And if it's not exact, I mean, it's fine. Don't get yourself all wigged out if it's not, if you're not perfectly, nobody's gonna judge it. Get out a ruler and make sure you're 1/8 of an inch all the way around. My quality's really going down. Better not throw me out again. I'm going to get a white piece of paper to work on. Alright, so for my next step, I need to decide if I want to keep, oh, I have a hair, if I'm going to keep this edge white like this or if I want to add some color to it. Because once I get it down, I can still ink the edge or paint the edge, but it is a little bit more difficult to get it even, which really isn't a big deal. I've forgotten at some points that I wanted to do it and I was still able to do it, but if you can remember, it's better to do it before. And the only thing that really does is it kind of blends everything together. So this is an old ink pad, and I'm just going to drag the edges across this ink pad and get a little bit of black onto my edge. So that when I put it on here, it just kind of gives it this dusting, and it just makes it look like it belongs together. It's just not a stark change. Sorry it's so pixelated. It comes in and out. And this is probably just a personal preference for me. Not everybody will probably agree that this looks better. And if not, then just simply do it your way. This is just a personal preference. So even if you're not getting good stamped images with these ink pads, keep them around because they're still good to do for things like this. There's still enough ink to get a little bit on to this paper, and these jelly prints were simply made on copy paper. So don't throw these away. You can still use them for stuff like this. And glue is another personal preference. A lot of people will put these together with Mod Podge or Collage Podge or different kinds of glues, and that's just all a personal preference. I just use my regular Elmer's Craft Bond, and I finally went ahead and watered this stuff down because I got so tired of squeezing tar out of a hair follicle, as my friend Sean calls it. And so I watered that glue down so that it would squeeze out of my fine liner better, and it just seems to be working a lot better for me. I'm not struggling as much. So I'm just looking for a card. And so I like to turn it over and then use some kind of a card to distribute the glue so that it gets the wrinkles out and it seals everything down really nicely. Okay, so there's that one. I'm sorry, Krista. I know, that's the problem with having friends on the other side of the world. I'll have to do a midnight stream here so that my eyes have to be glued open. Actually, I'm a night owl, so that wouldn't really be that difficult for me. We'll have to do that. That would actually be fun. On a weekend where I don't have the girls, which really doesn't happen very often, but if that ever happens, I'll definitely do a midnight stream here for you folks over on the other side of the world. That would actually be fun for me. So there's the base of our card, and if they curl up and stuff a little bit, that's okay. As the glue dries, they'll straighten out, and you can mess with them a little bit to get them to straighten out. And glue just does that. So I'm going to go get my stamps. All right. So I have a bunch that I've not used. That I want to use. So I think I'm going to open these ones that were sent to me. Thank you, Cheryl. Oh, thank you, Krista. That's so sweet. I got these in Happy Mail. It was a lovely gift. And so I am going to use these. And these are going to be really easy, you know, not a bunch of fuss kind of ATCs. And some, you know, simple is sometimes better. Sometimes they're more attractive to me than the ones that have a lot on them. You know, sometimes simple is better, I think. So I'm just sizing this to see. It looks like it's going to fit perfectly. And you get to sniff your StazOn ink, and that's always a good day. So I'm going to stamp this guy up. It says, "Be joyful in hope, faithful in prayer." I have a big old blotch of ink there, so I'm going to try my best to get this in the center. $1.54 in South Africa. So in the Netherlands, it's the same as South Africa. Okay, so that's what we got. See, and what I like about, I didn't press hard enough over here. And man, you're really taking a chance when you're trying to line these things back up. But I didn't do too bad. I got my J, you know, it's up a little bit higher, but I got most of it off of there. But what's nice about StazOn is the ink pretty much all comes off. That's what I like about StazOn. So that's the card so far. And it looks good just like that. You know, you don't even really have to do any more. I like it like that. You know, you still put a lot of work into it because of the, in this case anyways, because of the jelly print. It's just you didn't do it all today. That's why when you're doing jelly printing, it's good to do a lot of prints at that point. It might take you a few hours to get it done, but you've got it done, and then this is still homemade in the sense that you made your paper. Okay, and so I'm going to do 3 of the same. So I'm going to put this guy back on here. I shouldn't have taken it off. And I'm going to ink it again. I'm going to line it up. Try to get the whole thing pressed down this time. Now, if you have really good handwriting and you don't have stamps, then write it on there. And we don't want to go upside down. I've done that before. Thank you, Shauna. Okay, so there's those 3 cards. See how this one's getting kind of curled up as the glue dries? That's okay. You can shape it back, get it flat again. Stays on ink isn't cheap, so I like to try to keep that covered up as best that I can when I'm not using it. Okay, so there are those 3, and we can still add more stuff to it. You could add some stickles onto it. We could add some flowers to it. I've actually got the hearts because the paper that I used, the stencil that I used when I did these jelly prints were actually the negatives from my Cricut when I cut these hearts out. So I'm going to go and grab the little hearts that I had cut out. These aren't the actual ones, these are bigger, but these are a smaller version of that same heart. Oh no, actually look, these are the same. There's one in there. The other ones are in my other container. The big ones actually look good. Let me find them. So if you watched my video yesterday that I put out about being organized, this is part of the reason why I like to be organized, because I can go to these things and know where they are. So see, these are where those hearts are, because I know that all of my Cricut die cuts that I've done are in this container. So I'm able to go right to these and pull them out, and I know right where they are. Okay, so here's those hearts. And so I've got this color, which is perfect on this paper, but I want it to stand out. So I'm going to take this ink pad again, and I'm going to put the ink around the edges of this. And if you've got little corners like that, little spaces like that where you can't get, see, I can't get it in there. I can if I work it. But if you can't, then get one of those little makeup sponges. Dip it in your ink, or that's when those little chalk inks that I buy, those are good to get into those corners. I'm going to add some glue. And I'm just going to stick it in the corner here. Take a Q-tip. Somebody's knocking at our door, and that always makes us nervous. Okay. So I'm going to grab another one. I'm going to do the same thing. So, you know, people get so intimidated by making these, and part of their intimidation is they think that they're not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm afraid to show other people what I've made. You know, their cards are so much better, and I'm afraid to post my cards because nobody's going to like them because I'm just not good enough. And that is so wrong, you guys. Everybody starts from somewhere. And we are our own worst critics. And that's what frustrates me most about these groups. And believe me, the group that I encourage people to go join, which is the group that I trade in, nobody is going to judge you in there. There are people in there from all different levels. Everybody encourages everybody in there. And yes, people will trade. They will. Nobody's going to judge your work. Everybody is going to think that your work is beautiful. You can learn so much just by going through people's albums. There's, you know, people that create really basic. This is basic, and you guys can so do this. You don't have to make elaborate cards to trade. You can make very simple things like this, and people love them. They will trade. Okay, so I could put another one. I have these little guys. That are basically, well, they're the same shape, they're just smaller. That's what's nice about having a Cricut. You can totally, you know, when you have die cuts, unless you have the nesting ones, you can't cut any size. But when you have a Cricut, is this black? No, it's green. Oh, look what I just found. I found it, babe. In my inks.
Put it in there.
Can I blame the girls?
No, I'm just
This one's dead, so I have to throw it away. Sorry, I'm looking for a chalk ink. Okay, our quality's still pretty good. It's at 65%. Okay, wait. Wow, I totally am late. Oh, hi Jolene, how are you? Okay, Shell, I'll save one for you. I know your name's Cheryl, but I think of you as Shell, so that's just what I gotta call you. Jolene, you're late for school. Do you have a note? So see, it's hard to get into that little crease, but if you just work at it. And this is a brand new chalk ink, so it's like really juicy. Yeah, so don't be intimidated, you guys. Okay, thanks. That's like poor Sim. I call her Sim, and that's not her name, but that's just what I know her by, and I've always called her that, and she's such a sweetheart. She just lets me go with it. Okay, so I'm just going to stick this heart down here. And if you don't have a die cut machine and you don't have these die cuts, use stickers. I mean, you can get heart stickers anywhere. All right, so I could keep adding more and I could do more. I could add glitter to these. I could add more, but I just want these to be simple, so I'm going to stop. I'm not going to do any more to these, but let me show you what I do to the back. Some people have little labels that they stick to the back that they, you know, put their information on, and I don't. I just write my information. Like I said, most all of my cards are black, and they all have this black cardstock. As they dry, I just flatten them out. Now, as I'm waiting for mine to be traded, I put them in sleeves in a notebook. So that helps, you know, keep them flat. If I had sleeves, I'm out of sleeves, so right now they're just going into a bin, but so I turn them over, and I always sign them at the top. And then I always put Faith Unedited, because most everybody knows me from my channel. I always put my state, Colorado, and USA, because I do trade with people internationally. And then I put what I want to name this card. So I think what I'm going to name this card is Joyful Faithful. So I'm going to put Joyful, comma, Faithful. Okay, I made 3 of them, so I'm going to put 1 of 3. And then I'm going to put the date, which is 10/29/16. Okay, so that's the information that I put on mine. My name, my YouTube channel, my state, country, title of the card, the number of the card, and the date that I made it. Okay, so then on this one, it's going to be the same thing. My name, or my signature. It's always important to sign your work. My YouTube channel, my state, my country, title of the card, this would be 2 of 3, and the date I made it. Okay. This is 3 of 3, 10, 29, 16. Okay, and Cheryl wants one of these. So I put your name on number 3, Cheryl. No, this is, I put jewelry on today. How weird, right? I put a necklace on. I put a ring on. This is an old ring look. It's like one of those cheap rings. All the silver's rubbing off on it. It says wisdom, strength, and courage. They're separate rings. They come apart. And this ring isn't my wedding ring set. My fingers got fat. And I need to go get my rings resized, which next Saturday we're actually taking them to the jeweler. But this ring is the ring. When Scott proposed to me, I was really, really sick. And they were waiting for my blood counts to come up so that I could go in and get my hysterectomy. I needed to get a total hysterectomy because I was bleeding internally, but they couldn't do my hysterectomy until my blood counts got up to 10. And we went away to the Royal Gorge, and he proposed to me on the gorge, on the bridge, but he didn't have a ring because it was kind of a sudden thing because I was bleeding internally and they had to do this surgery, and we kind of had to get married sooner than we had planned to get married because of all of that. But anyways, long story short, he proposed to me on the bridge, and it was a surprise that he had proposed to me, and we didn't have rings or anything. So I felt kind of naked that here I said yes, but I didn't have a ring. So the next day we drove up to Glenwood Springs, and there was a gift shop, and he bought me this little ring until we got our engagement ring. So and it's a little tight, but I decided that I'm going to wear this until we get my other ring size. Isn't it cute? Can you guys see it? Is it blurry? It's so sweet. So yeah, I decided to put some jewelry on today. I took a shower and everything. Isn't that funny? It's his first weekend off. Okay, do you guys want me to make some more, or do you think you saw enough? Yeah, it's hearts. So cute. So easy, right, you guys? It's so easy. You can do it. You can do it. Make some. Make some of these. I will trade with you. Make some. You could put like a little gem in there if you wanted. Make some more, please. Okay. We will. Let's do it. Let's do some more. let me see. You know, and another thing that I just wanted to tell you guys, now another really simple thing that you can do with a simple card like this that really makes it special is if you have a sewing machine, you can sew onto these. And I've done it with some cards, and it just adds something really special and something really unique. Is if you have a sewing machine, you can put, whether it's black thread, pink thread, whatever, thread isn't that expensive, you can sew right on these cards. So you know, a lot of people will put like stitching marks with a pen. Get out your sewing machine and sew directly on these cards, and it adds so much. You could do just a straight stitch, you could do a zigzag stitch, you could do, if you've got a machine that does fancy stitching on here, it really does add a lot to these cards, and it's unique. Not a lot of people take the time to do that, and it really is fast. Like if you make up a bunch of cards, even if you're just doing tags, add some stitch marks to it. It really makes them cute, and it does really add a lot to them. Okay, just a really quick idea. It would add a lot to this simple little card and make it not so simple. Make a seasonal one. Make a seasonal one. Make a seasonal one. I don't know that I have any. Well, I can try, Jolene. I don't have a whole lot of seasonal type supplies, but let me see what I can pull out of my hat. I'm always up for the challenge. Let me get these back. These are so precious, so. I love this one. When life gets too hard to stand, kneel. I love that one. Okay. Here are my cards. Make something seasonal. Fa la 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 la. Well, if you want seasonal, and I'll do seasonal, because I just happened to got some Happy Mail with some little cute images. Well, I can make 4. I can make 4. So somebody sent me these images. By the way, do I owe you for all the cards you sent me? All the Hello Kitty ones? Probably, Jolene. Yeah, Jolene, you know, one thing about me is I'm really not good about going and picking trades. I love sending them and I love getting them, but I'm really bad about going into people's albums and picking them because I send so many. I don't know why I'm so bad about it. I don't keep track. Okay, so I need my cutter. So somebody sent me these little images. Aren't they cute? I love this one. Cheerio. Isn't that cute with the little birds? Oops, wrong way. So these look like they were just simply cards of some kind that she cut. So that's another really good thing. If you don't already save your Christmas cards, save your Christmas cards. I don't get a lot of Christmas cards. I don't know if people even send Christmas cards anymore. But, okay, so I'm going to have to cut some of this down because these cards are bigger. So I need to figure out where I want to cut this. So I guess I'll just start chopping at this point and seeing where I am. So I want a little border. How much am I going to be? Okay, we're good. That's just part of the Christmas tree there. So I'm going to cut down to here. And then this needs to be 3, see that's 3.5, so 3.25. Okay, so this is my little doggy. I cut a little bit too much right there, but that's okay. Oh, it's Hello Kitty's birthday. How old is Hello Kitty? So I'm going to black ink the sides, but I don't want to get a whole lot up on top of the image. This is a pretty thick cardstock. Fold. Okay, so I'm going to stick that right there. I have a Hello Kitty with a mustache. I bet she's not older than me. Yep. See, I'm 10 years older. Ask Surrey how old she is. Okay, what'd I do with my credit card? Or my card, it's not really a credit card. My plastic. Where's my plastic? Oh man, what'd I do with it? I don't know what I did with it, but here's another one. This really isn't even, this is like one of those ones you get in the mail. They're not really plastic. What else can I do to this? Me too.